shrimps. There's a lot of shrimps on the tying scene, and most of them are really, really good. I like to make things as simple as possible, so it's easy to tie them and not too much materials in the flies. This has quite a bit of material, but usually it's a lot of the things that you already have at home if you are tying seatrout flies. So this is a pattern. It's not far from Vaskebjörnen or some other great patterns out there, but I think it's a very simple fly. What I also like it is that we're using things that we normally are not really using from our Spey capes. So normally when you're been tying a lot of flies with Spey capes, after a while it looks like this, you know. Most of the good feathers that you are for a size 6, 4 and 2 are taken. So what I like to do with these is to tie a fly where I can use basically all the feathers that you don't really use from a cape. And there are all the big ones up here. They're also pretty good for pike flies, but they're also really, really good for this type of flies. So here you can take out the feathers, but don't use the stem, only use the hackle fibers and create a very nice and simple tail. And we are also going to do a very, very drastic, very, very fluorescent trigger point in the middle here, which I think is really, really good. So a simple shrimp, you can play around with whatever basically materials you have at home. You can even use marabou in the tail here if you want to. I think the Spey is really, really nice. And then some hen hackle to make it swim really well and also keep the buoyancies in the water. Simple fly, really fishy pattern. Try it in all different colors and you will not be disappointed. And of course, if you want to win this, please subscribe, give a comment in the thread, and we'll give this one away for you. Good luck. We have two different colors of dubbing here. This one is really, really fluorescent. So we have a lot of UV material here. So we're going to mix this in the coffee grinder. So we're going to use some Senyos fusion dub, Eat a Peach. This is a super good seatrout color. Try to loosen the fibers a little bit when you put it in the grinder. Going to use some ice dub, shell pink. Also really nice. These are all so fluorescent colors that really, really pops. Some gold. I love to have gold in orange and dubbings like that because it's really good color for sea trout. And then we're going to use some Baitfish Supreme. This is called Salmon. It's also super fluorescent and also a little bit on the kind of the UV side when it comes to a little bit purple tone to it. So I'm going to put them in the grinder and just going to spin them around a little bit. So then we have this super good mix. We have a lot of air inside of it and it's, as you can see, beyond fluorescent. And just to make it easy, we're also going to mix the front part of the fly, which has a much more natural tone to it. No fluorescent material at all, only like a natural fur and some very light colors to it. So we get that really good contrast from that orange and that salmon dyed hackle into a very gray and a very light front of the fly. So we're going to keep it very, very simple. We're going to use some natural fur. This is just hair's. Put some of that in the grinder. Some ice dub. This is a very natural color, down to earth. Just like to kind of, they have quite long fibers, so I'm just like to mix them a little bit like that, divide them a little bit, and a slight touch of some gold in there. Just so we get some long fibers, that just makes it pop really nice. Actually, a good tip with doing dubbing, regardless, if you buy a bag like this of hair's, put them in the grinder and just make much more volume into the dubbing. You have a much easier material to work with. So we have this mix now. A lot of air, as you can see. So now we have a mixture of hair's, gold, and some ice dub. So a very natural tone. It's going to be perfect to the front part of the fly. The second prep work we're going to do is we are going to make the easy shrimp eyes pop out a little bit more. These are orange. I put them in a prep station. So what I want to do is I want to give these eyes a black pupil, and then a thin coat of Thinman over these, because they just becomes more three-dimensional. And I think the flies look really, really cool when you have that black spot in the back there, compared to having them just orange. I don't know if the fish sees it, but I see it, and I will choose this fly in the box in front of one who doesn't have these black spots. So I think it's really cool. So the easiest way is to put some black resin. This is Gulff Black Magic. I just put some on a piece of paper, so I can easily take my dubbing needle and I can gently just put a small drop on each eye here. And I have a tendency to do like a bunch of these at once, because it just becomes so much simpler than having to do it one for every fly. So I'm fairly happy with this. So we're just gonna cure this. You have to remember that the black dye in these is a little bit harder for the UV light to go through, so you need a little bit longer time to cure them. So this is the thinnest version of the Gulff clear resins, and this is a really nice thin one. So it's super good to do things like this, and also good if you want to cure the material so you make it stay in place or something like that. But it doesn't build that much volume. So the easiest way is to just put a drop here on top. Just put a small drop on top, and then gently just kind of work with your dubbing needle. When you do a lot of these, you get really used to how big drop you should put on here. So it becomes quite easy actually. So now I got the Thinman all around the eye here. So we're just gonna turn them around. So we're gonna make the resin go back, so we make that nice drop shape. So we wait for a few seconds, and then we cure them when they're upside down. So we have a nice, little bit more three-dimensional eye with a nice black spot. We're gonna tie this fly on a light stinger hook. So it has a light wire, quite wide gape. This is the Ahrex NS 122. I think it's the perfect hook for this type of flies. We're gonna tie it in on a size 4. 2 to 6, almost down to an 8 works, but 4 I think is a really go-to size on this one. So we're using 25 denier. So a thin Dyneema thread. Of course you can use basically whatever thread you want here. But I think these thin Dyneema threads are super simple to work with. So when you have a hackle like this, and you want to make the fibers go on the same side, like doubling it, the very, very simple way is to take your scissor. Usually has one side where you have a 90-degree angle. If you take that scissor and you pull it against the hackle stem with that 90-degree angle, you're gonna kind of force the feathers to go on the back side. So if you just pull it like this, it is a super simple way to get the fibers to start to making that angle. Instead of kind of like wetting your fingers, pushing it like this, you just put your scissor, pull it along the stem, and as you can see, you kind of force them to go on one side. Super simple.